Hey, all my Pisces friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your March 2024 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology in the Pacific time zone. So when I'm talking about Pisces, I'm talking about Pisces rising. This is also applicable to Pisces sun as well as Pisces moon. And if you have a stellium, which is 3 or more personal planets in the sign of Pisces, this video is applicable to you as well. Now, for you, those of you that are a little bit more familiar with your chart and the house systems, I want to offer this because if you are a late degree Pisces rising in the Placidus system, that will put the primary Pisces energy in the 12th house. And that will make your first house primarily Aries. So I think that's important to pay attention to the degree of your rising sign, especially again, if it's in the latter degrees of the sign. So let's jump right in where we see the sun is in your sign, Pisces. Saturn has been there since 2023, and Mercury's joined the party back in last month. Now, I want to say this conversation right here between these planets very much feels as if it is a continuation of what they were talking about last month in February. Saturn here in Pisces, while Saturn can rule oppression or feeling limited or restricted or authority, it can very much represent history and what you have historically built, how you have historically dealt with your fears. We see Saturn in a conversation with the sun, which is our ego, our drive, our assertion out in the world. And we see Mercury, which is how we think, what we speak. It's in our internal dialogue, as well as our everyday activities and how we interact with those within our daily work life, our daily errands, whatever your daily routines are. Now, in the sign of Pisces, which is your first house, I believe that this is really a conversation about your creativity. I think this is a conversation about what you dream about, what you want to experience as an individual. I think that Saturn is saying to Pisces, let's build a strong spiritual base built on your belief system. What do you believe about your ability to live out the dreams that you want? Because as Saturn is going to go through your first house until 2026, coming at Saturn from that perception versus Saturn just throwing restriction on you can really open up a whole new world for you as you realize that the hard part of Saturn is the endurance of believing with your heart when your eyes can't see the manifestation yet. And I think this is also echoed by the mind, represented by Mercury. What is my self-talk? What do I absorb in the way of information that either supports my dreams or pulls my dreams away from me or feels dry? Because every planet has a duality. And here on my channel, I'm really stretching for the higher vibrations of each and every planet. We also see that this stellium here in Pisces is in a lovely sextile to Jupiter, giving me an opportunity to expand my belief system, expand my business, expand my marketing, my publishing, my education. We also see a bit of history in the Taurus energy as the Taurus energy rules our self-worth. And that self-worth is literally created in the first two houses as we are nurtured as a child within our home environment. And it isn't until we get into the third house and we see that not every home is run the same way. Not everybody has the same beliefs. And that's where assessment and potential judgment starts in the human experience. So as you're going through this sort of conversation of history, and yet how can that history be the platform to help my dreams grow? I believe that Jupiter is supporting that endeavor. We also see that Pluto has moved into your 12th house of Aquarius. And I think this is really powerful because the 12th house is your natural house. It is also a house that represents, ancestry, our soul's imprint that we bring from lifetime to lifetime into the physical experience. And now there's an opportunity to really, exercise your genius and step into a vibration that allows for your innovation, for your moving forward in a way that's more clear and more direct. You know, the sign of Aquarius is unsettling. It rules the nervous system. It rules the future, where there is nothing that we have anything to base anything on. So when we're inventing a new product or a new dynamic, it's based on a concept. And that concept is often out of this world. So I think that when you see, as Pluto is, moved into this energy, it's giving you an opportunity to start to rewrite your own imprint, your own psychology, or at least have an awareness about it that then can support what's happening over here in your first house, and then in your Taurus is your third house. So this is where you can expand your community, expand your everyday life, and have it be much more reflective of the 2.0 version of you. Here's this Uranus conjunction that's going to get very, very intense in the month of March as we get closer and closer to its exact conjunction in April. Let's move now to, we're going to go to the new moon on the 10th. That's happening at 1 a.m. Pacific time. And I think this is very significant because this is the 5th new moon in a row where we are planting the seeds at the 20th degree. The 20th degree is that Plutonian degree, that Scorpio degree, the degree of the deepest psychology, where my fears reside beyond my consciousness, where I can be paralyzed, where I want to escape and run into my room and hide because the world is too harsh. And here I think this is about planting the seeds for your continued journey of self-discovery. That's the way I want to put it for my Pisces, because Saturn is really your friend here, trying to build deep roots for you to feel the higher vibrations of your sign, the connections to spirit that bring solace and comfort, and the connections through your creativity that bring a sense of individuality and feel a sense of being seen out in the world instead of that invisibility that we can sometimes feel. We also see that at the time of the new moon, Mars is also at the 20th degree in the sign of innovation, offering me an opportunity to really reflect on this south node. There's a trine here. And with the south node in Libra, there can be a tendency to give up my individuality for a partnership or for harmony or for peace, or somehow not get recognition. And while Mars is making this aspect to the south node, I think it's bravery. I think it's about, where am I holding potential anger or resentment that isn't serving me? And now I get to plant the seeds in the dark of the moon that support a new version of what I want to experience. We see this new moon making a very favorable sextile to Uranus, giving me an opportunity again to liberate myself, to rebel against an old story, or even more so, to use my skills in ways that I'd never used them before. And sometimes, I know I've learned this personally in my life, that, growing up, basically half my life in the 20th century and the second half in the 21st, technology has changed so much, and positions and jobs and influence is beyond what I could have known in my earlier years. So there's a real, this planting is absolutely based on faith. And even more so, we can see this evidenced by this conjunction as Mercury has moved into Aries. It is on the world axis here at the 0 degree, and it has just had a conversation with your ruling planet. And I didn't even mention that Jupiter is your co-ruler. I should have mentioned that earlier. But here, this is where we dream of the possibilities, where we see things in a way that allow us to be like, you know what? If I keep my eye on the prize of what I want to create, and I'm aware of my emotional body, and I stay connected to spirit, as Saturn has asked me to do, because when I stay connected to source, to spirit, to God, whatever your terminology is, then you know that you have this divine right to co-create in a way that brings you joy and happiness. And that's why Mercury's move into Aries is so powerful, because it gives you an opportunity to really reflect on how you make money and being an individual and being an entrepreneur, or in some ways having your own expression, your own talents, bring you resources in a way that brings more comfort and peace and supports that feeling of personal fulfillment for Pisces. That's the way I want to put this. We will see Venus enter your house. We're going to go to the 12th now. And, you know, Venus is a welcome guest in Pisces. She is so happy to be there. This is where she really likes to let her hair down. She likes to play good music. The wine is flowing. And while Venus normally kind of gets a little dreamy here, for some reason, I feel like this year, as she went through Capricorn and then through Aquarius in the first 2 months of the year, now she's wanting to have a conversation with Saturn about building roots, building sustainability, about her own creativity, about what she wants, about her own money, about her own sensibilities, her own divine feminine that draws in the resources she needs rather than asserting herself out. And as we get further and further into the month, I'm calling this a summit, because there is a cooperative component here where I feel that Saturn is softened that edge that you would normally find it to be in very earthbound Capricorn. And now Saturn is understanding, as he represents Father Time, how time teaches and how it's infinite and how the soul goes on. And we see here on this particular day, we see Saturn at 11 degrees and we see Venus at 1 degree, very much running that theme of the ones in my mind. What am I thinking? How am I feeling? We see Pluto at the 1st degree, just throwing that in for a little extra spice. Let's move now to the 19th, when the sun will move into its exaltation. Oh, let me go to the 20th. And this is, we have now Venus and Saturn in very close talks. The conversation is the same all month. How can I, Saturn, give me guidance on how I can build my own resources, my own flow of abundance with my talents, my skills, my perception, my voice, all of that being represented by Venus in her exaltation. Now, as the sun moves into its exaltation, we see the sun wanting to shine a light on our desires as it moves towards the north node. And that those desires are of my own individual expression. This is your second house naturally. And I really believe that it's about applying your creativity or your talents or your skills or your desires in a way that supports. Now we see your co-ruler right here in a nice sextile to Jupiter. And this Jupiter is getting tighter and tighter with Uranus. That Uranus is, potential work on the internet, potential, broader audiences, because we see the expansive nature of Jupiter here. And this is about building a business and building wealth and building money through your skills and your talents. You could be a chef. Anything that has, a Taurus Pisces flavor is playing into this dynamic. You could be a person who grows sustainable things. You could be a person who knits, cotton hats or crochets. I mean, there's so many dynamics that could be going on. Now, I want to say this as well. On this particular day, we also see Mercury and Chiron together at the 18th degree. And this is not an easy degree. It's a Virgonian degree. And here, I think this could be a real, a day where you may be thinking, is it safe? Am I being too dreamy in trusting my own talents? Am I lacking, a sense of practicality? And I'm not saying that Mercury is practical, but here, this is referring to how I run my everyday life. And I'm sitting on my womb that has the potential to transform to the gift. And this is really going to come back into how much do I believe in the laws of attraction? How much do I believe I'm a co-creator? And going back to Saturn and Venus's conversation and say, you know what? I'm willing to do the hard work of believing in myself through the inside out. When we see Venus represented in the tarot, it's the Empress. and she's sitting, back in a very comfortable sort of oversized chair. There's pillows behind her. She's got her scepter. The stars are her crown, and their wheat everywhere represents her abundance. But her connection to those stars, her power comes from her connection to be able to see and believe and emotionally connect to that which the universe provides. She knows about the ebb and the flow, that she's ready to take inspired action. So I think this is super powerful. And we're heading into the first eclipse of the year. And I'm going to get to that in a minute, but it's going to have similar themes of this. We also see the sun while it is starting its exaltation at the 0 degree on the world axis. It's making a sextile to Jupiter. I'm sorry, to Pluto. It's making a half square to Jupiter. I'm not really going to address this right now. I'm going to focus more on the Pluto dynamic, because being on the world axis is a very powerful point. It's a birth of some kind, and having the sun and Neptune together here in a conjunction makes me feel like I'm looking at a beautiful sunset. And the sunset is inspiring to me because I'm understanding the rhythm of things, and how sometimes when one door closes, another door opens, and yet that door opening offers so much more beauty, but it's challenging. I don't know if any of you have ever watched a butterfly actually come out of the cocoon, but it is a precarious period of time for this little creature, as it is vulnerable to so many outside influences. And if we are to actually think about Jupiter here, while Jupiter is your co-ruler, this could be where you may not be connecting with the sun setting on something that is bringing expansion to you. That's the way I want to put it. Okay. Now let's go to I'm going to go to the 23rd, where we see Mars has entered Pisces. Now, most astrologers say that Mars in Pisces is not strong because the fire is extinguished. Of course, when Mars is in a fiery sign, they say Mars is too strong. So here, I want to offer this. Mars has been going through a transformation, and that was very palatable to Mars when it went through the Gemini energy for 7 months in 2022 to 2023. So as Mars has been traversing the Zodiac, Mars has become more aware of how he lands on other people, and how, he represents hero and inspiration and pioneering spirit. And he's starting to connect to that in a way that's making him feel like he's a peaceful warrior, one that knows how to use his sword, but it's not the knee-jerk response anymore. So as we see the summit between Saturn and Venus continue in this house where, honestly, I feel like Venus is making Saturn eat really good food and maybe even having some good wine. And that's his compromising with her as she listens to him, putting structure into her creativity from the inside out, the Pisces energy. Now Mars is going to support that. This is going to be brave action. And this is where, I don't know if any of you have ever seen The Karate Kid, but this is where Saturn turns into Mr. Miyagi and Mars is Daniel. Because as Mars swims through Pisces, there's going to be a certain amount of repetitive information that comes through, historic information, ancestral patterns and behaviors. And Mars is going to be continued to ask to step beyond a pattern of reaction and into an intention, and to be brave to step into a dreamy world that he may not believe initially is possible. That's the way I want to put it. Let's go to the day of the eclipse, which is going to happen at 12 a.m. Pacific time on the 25th. And this first eclipse of the season is super powerful, as a lunar eclipse is a full moon cycle. We see it here at the 5th degree of Libra. Libra is your 8th house of transformation, of other people's money, of finances, of the commingling of both our bodies and our resources. It's also where the human experiences death for the first time. So here we see this moon at 5 degrees of Libra here at the Leo degree, but it is also conjunct the supergalactic center at 2 degrees, 22 minutes of Libra. That supergalactic center has a 5 to 10 degree orb. The tighter the orb, the more intense the feeling. Any planets that you have are significant points at that within the orb of the supergalactic center is going to impact you sort of doubly during this lunar eclipse or during this eclipse cycle. It could take 6 months for the big reveal to happen, but it's happening nonetheless. Here we see with the moon here, this is going to be about my emotional body. How am I addressing my emotional body? Am I willing to sort of look as a Pisces where I have been maybe giving up my power to other people or to other situations in a form of compassion or even empathy or fear of your own, ability to create? And when we go here to the sun, we see the sun is making this very, again, favorable aspect to Jupiter. I'm sorry, I keep saying Jupiter, Pluto. So this is very powerful for transformation. Pluto naturally rules the 8th house. And while this is your 8th house, the moon being your 8th house, the sun is your 2nd house. So there's an illumination and an opportunity for you to actually use your skills to bring in new clients, to bring in new resources. We have behind the scenes, we still have a conversation here between Venus and Saturn, and it's still being supported by Jupiter and Uranus. So I think that this is kind of a twofer for you, because as Venus is in your house and Saturn is putting some real structure into, let's use your skills so that you can build and be seen out in the world for all of your talents and skills. So I think that's super, super powerful. And this month, in and of itself, we are definitely going to start to feel this conjunction. This conjunction is going to be every single one of our lives will be touched in some way. And I think as we prepared throughout the beginning of this year and integrated the last few years, what Pluto taught us or revealed to us while it was going through Capricorn, we can absolutely create business, commerce, money, resources flow. I just want to remind you, Pisces, that your ancient ruler rules expansion and wealth and philosophy and ideologies and foreign people and foreign places, but it also rules publishing songs, being a songwriter, all the things that are Piscean, it rules as well. And we don't talk about that very much because Neptune has taken over that role. But here you could birth something on the internet and it could completely transform your life and the way you make your money and the way that you view yourself out in the world. All right, that's it for Pisces for March 2024. Again, my name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer. And if you'd like to book a reading with me, I am available. You can reach out to me. My email is below, and I will send you an email with all of the information and rates and options, and etc. Have a lovely, lovely March, my Pisces. And I didn't say it earlier, but I hope you're having a great birthday month. Bye-bye.